on now to our special segment of the month, which is one of my favorite things, winning strategies with the WBE, where we learn about one of our members and how they're using their certification to grow their business and get to know other women business owners. And so I would like to introduce Beth Vivio, and Nancy G. Allen is going to be our host for this segment. So take it away, Nancy.
Thanks, Joanna. Thank you, everyone. And as Joanna said, we have a couple of different things we do throughout the month. Every Wednesday has a theme, and the theme for today is called Winning Strategies with the WBE. And we started doing this because we heard from some members that they're interested in hearing, kind of the secrets of success and the secret sauce that other WBEs use to really grow their businesses, especially in the time of the pandemic and beyond. So our special guest today is Beth Vivio of Corporate Fitness Works. And I've got some questions I'm going to ask Beth, and then we're going to open it up to all of you for questions as well. So first I'm going to ask Beth to tell us about her company and why she bought the company.
Well, thank you, Nancy, and everyone with WBENC. It's great to see all of you. Happy to be here today. So Corporate Fitness Works provides both on-site and virtual management for employee fitness centers. So our clients are typically large corporate clients that want to provide that kind of benefit for their employees. They'll have an on-site fitness center. And as I've been talking about our company recently, I've been thinking about what we were like before COVID and now what we're like after COVID. It's interesting how much we've changed over this past year. But prior to COVID, we would do things like we could design their employee fitness center, we could procure all their equipment, and then of course provide the people power to do the management of it. Nancy, you used the phrase secret sauce. We like to use that phrase as well, because really our secret sauce is the customized programming, the fitness and wellness programming that we provide to our clients that is really specialized for their employee population. So for example, we have some manufacturing clients where the programming we provide for that employee base is very different than the programming we would provide for a more typical corporate company. So those are all the different things that our company can do. Post-COVID, what's different, and really during COVID, is that we've had to do all of our services virtually. So much of what we were about was being in person, on site, and engaging face to face with people. But of course, during the pandemic, we couldn't do that. And we have managed, thankfully, to figure out how to deliver our services virtually. So now the upside of COVID for us is that in addition to those large corporate clients, we can really provide our services to businesses of any size, because we've developed a whole new way to deliver our programming thanks to technology. So that's just a little bit about what our company does.
Perfect. And tell us, because Beth bought the company, right?
Yes.
And it's the interesting story is that Beth bought the company from a WBE.
Yeah.
Who had very successfully run the company for over 20 years, I think, right? And so tell us about that process. How was it? How did you decide to buy the company, and what was the process of transitioning from the prior owner to you guys?
Sure. Well, actually, Corporate Fitness Works just celebrated its 33rd birthday. So it's been around since 1988, which is very exciting. When my husband and I made the decision to buy a business, we really didn't have any specific kind of company in mind in terms of like an industry, but we were looking for something that would tap into both of our skill sets. He has a more classic corporate background. I have a background in nonprofit management. So for me, it was really important to find a business that had a mission that I could fully embrace. Because personally, I'm very much about helping people and making a difference. So when we were fortunate enough to find this company, we really fell in love immediately. And it was somewhat serendipitous, but it was also about really the importance of networking. I think Joanna mentioned that earlier. You just networking is so important, and making those connections with other people is what led us to finding this business. And we wanted to find an established company that had a great track record, had a good client list, and then really just a company that we could build on and grow. And we've been fortunate over almost 3 years now to realize that we found exactly what we were looking for. So we're thrilled with that. What we didn't know until we got into this project was the importance of being certified as a women-owned business. That really hadn't entered our minds until we got into this process. And the 2 women that previously owned the company, that was pretty much a deal breaker for them. They really wanted to sell the company to another, they wanted it to continue to be women-owned. We learned about that, and unfortunately that worked for us. We were happy to do that. We actually are also minority certified, so we have 2 certifications, which has really been helpful for us. And we have been so fortunate that the previous owners have been so supportive and really made that transition really easy for us. It's been, I think, in some cases, business acquisitions are not always so seamless, but we were really fortunate.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. So the second question is, how have you actually used the WBENC certification to your advantage?
Well, a couple ways. One, it really was essential because so many of our clients are large corporations that really prioritize supplier diversity. So to maintain the existing clients that we have, it was essential that we be certified. But continuing now, once we became the owners, we recognized very quickly that the opportunities that we are exposed to, whether it's in Florida through WBEC or nationally through WBENC, we just get so many opportunities to be in front of supplier diversity reps, procurement reps that we wouldn't get otherwise. And we offer such a specialized service that we need as many opportunities as we can to remind these companies that we're out there, because it's not a service like marketing or printing or things that people are constantly looking for. When a company's looking for our services, it's at a specific time. It may come up once every 3 years. So it really is incumbent upon us to be in front of these decision makers as often as possible. And fortunately, WBENC makes that possible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Beth, can you say a few words about why you sponsor WBENC national events? Because I know you're a pretty big sponsor. And how did that come about, and why do you do that?
Well, it's something that the previous owners had done, and and they encouraged us to do, and we recognized the value in that for 2 reasons. One, so much about Well, for us, and I really honestly think for anyone in business, so much about what we do is about building relationships and building your name recognition. And so at the National WBENC conference, by being a sponsor, our name is out there, and we would do things like lead some exercise classes, walking sessions, different things throughout the conference. And so it was just great exposure to everyone at the conference, but especially, of course, to those corporations that are connected to WBENC, again, to be reminded of who we are and what we do, so that when they're looking for the kind of services that we provide, that our name is top of mind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for those of you who have not yet attended a WBENC National Conference, one of the things that Corporate Fitness Works has done, which has been very, very successful, is this walk challenge, right? And everyone is invited to participate in the walk challenge. I think you gave everybody some kind of a fitness watch or something that tracked the steps. And let me tell you, the competition was fierce. There were people who were running 3 times a day to stay at the top of the leaderboard. And then there were corporations that were competing, because I saw 2 or 3 people, were at the top of the leaderboard from one corporation and 2 or 3 from another corporation. So talk about relationship building and using that to your advantage. That went a really long way, and the prize was some kind of an exercise machine, right?
Yes. We partnered with one of our equipment vendors to provide an exercise bike. Yeah.
It was pretty amazing, the competition there, but all in good fun.
Yeah.
And a really great way to, as you said, Beth, use who you are and what you do to promote what your passion is, as well as get some incredible recognition, not only from corporations, but from people who were attending the event. So
Yeah.
good on you. Okay, so our third question is, what is the most courageous thing you've done this year?
Well, a couple of things. First, I kind of like when you say year, I'm going to think sort of the entire time of COVID, so maybe a little bit longer than a year. And there's 2 things that go really kind of hand in hand. When all of this first happened, we had to really, do some very serious introspection and really analysis of how we were going to survive. Because unfortunately, the fitness industry as a whole was hit very hard by COVID. So we wanted to make sure that we could survive and keep as many of our team leaders as possible employed. But we did have to make some tough decisions. And we did have to do a little bit of downsizing, and that was really difficult. And with that, the remaining team, we had to ask them to do more and really, push them to kind of go outside their comfort zone and taking on new skills and new tasks. And as part of that, I mentioned earlier that we had to quickly pivot into offering our services virtually. And this was very, very disruptive and very different for us. But really, it's amazing what people can do when a challenge hits. And we've been so incredibly proud of our team. And really, I think, as far as the most courageous thing, I think, we took a big risk and dedicated a lot of our resources in terms of both financial and the time and the skills of our team to really build out the virtual program that we now have in place. And that was a big risk, but we're seeing really tremendous results as because of that risk. So we're really excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. What is the most creative thing you did? So you talked about the courageous. Let's talk about the creative.
Well, I think earlier, in an earlier segment, they were talking, Nancy, about the work that you do as Nancy G. Allen and the creative work that you do. And I had to look back at my calendar, but I think it was January 15th, I participated in one of your vision board workshops. And I love that kind of stuff. I'm very crafty. I enjoy making cards because I like to send people handwritten notes, but I had never done a vision board exercise. And I so enjoyed that. And really, I learned so much from it and have thought about that a lot, and all the different things that you covered in that class that you led have been so helpful for me throughout this year. So I encourage everybody out there, if you haven't had a chance to take advantage of the programming that Nancy offers, it was such a good experience for me.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you enjoyed that. And it's very telling that that what you learned, you've been able to carry through, a very difficult year. So we always like to say that it's really important to go into that side of your brain every once in a while, because as business owners, as leaders of teams, we're usually just focused on the outcome as opposed to being focused on the process for the outcome. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Okay, and then finally, our last question for you is, what words of advice do you have for WBEs?
Well, a couple things. One of the things that I've really been aware of over the last few months in particular, like I said earlier, we've owned this company for almost 3 years. And of course, with any new, venture, you come in so excited and you're going to make all this change and amazing things are going to happen right away. And what I've learned is that it's important to be patient. Certainly we were able to implement some things early on that positively impacted the company, but growth sometimes happens incrementally, and it's not something amazing that happens overnight. It's day by day. You do things, and gradually you see results. So I'm certainly appreciating how important it is to be patient. And I guess that's one piece of advice that I would offer. And also the importance of, I think this has come up several times today, but just of building those relationships and doing that networking. And again, that requires patience, because you have to connect with people many times before it may develop into something, or before they might refer you to someone else who might become a client. So I think that focusing on developing really meaningful and authentic relationships with people is so critical. I'd like to give two examples of that. We just found out this week that back in December, we had completed an RFP for a very large company. We were one of the final vendors to do their fitness programming, and we were not selected. They chose someone else, primarily based on price. So fast forward to 6 months later, they came back to us basically saying that other vendor couldn't deliver what they promised. And we're, somewhat sheepishly, we're coming back to you now because we recognize that even though you were a little more expensive, you're the company who's going to be able to give us what we need. So I think that's a great example of one, being patient. You never know when an opportunity may change or come back to you. And we maintained that relationship. We certainly kept in touch with them, even though they said no to us 6 months ago. We keep those kinds of clients in our CRM so that we send them information periodically and keep in touch. And so that's, just a great example of how that pays off. The other thing is that another client that we have gotten to know specifically through WBENC, they're an entity that has locations all over the United States. And even though they're all connected, they each hire their own vendors. So it's not a system where once you're in one, you can be the vendor for all of them. You have to build relationships with each specific entity. And it's not a quick process. It takes a long time, but at Go for the Greens, I've met with some of these folks, at other WBEC events, and certainly at the national level. And slowly but surely, we're making headway. And really, we've gone from one location to now we have 3 now, and there's 2 more that are releasing RFPs that have reached out to us wanting us to apply. So it's really remarkable to me how much WBENC has just been a game changer for our company, but just the importance of just sticking to it and maintaining those relationships and staying in front of those companies, and eventually it pays off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to highlight a couple of things that you have said as really great lessons for anyone who is listening and participating today. So the first really about building relationships, right? A lot of people come to business ownership and business development thinking that I have the best idea, I've got the best product, I've got the best price, and I've got the ideal market, and I'm going to make millions, right? I'm going to just sweep profit's just going to keep coming in overnight. Well, we have actually polled some of our members, not only locally, but nationally, and it generally takes 3 to 5 years from the time you start a relationship to the time you actually get that contract, right? And one of the things you said, Beth, is one of the things we like to hone in on is you apply, you bid for a contract, you don't get the contract. Number one, you can always go back and ask them why, right? There's a period of time after which you get notified that you were not the winning bid, where you can go and speak to the contracts officer and ask some questions. But number two, which is what you did and what a lot of people fail to do, is keep in contact with them, right? So it's not like I didn't get the contract and okay, I'm just going to sweep you under the rug and I'll never like you and I'll never think about you and blah, blah, blah. You have to maintain a really good relationship because things happen.
Yes.
The winning bid, for whatever reason, can't fulfill the contract. The second bid gets notified, right? Or gets called. Or sometimes it may be you didn't get the contract this time around, but 2 years later, when the contract is up again, you've been in contact with the company. You have provided them with industry expertise. You've provided them with, examples of solutions you've provided for other corporations. They remember you and say, yes, we want to go with this group because they really know who we are and what makes us tick, and they're going to be a successful bidder. So that's really important for people to remember. A, it's not going to happen overnight, and B, keep in touch, right? And we like to call that working on your business instead of working in your business. And one of my favorite authors is Simon Sinek, and one of my favorite books is called The Infinite Game. And in The Infinite Game, Simon Sinek interviews a woman named Lori Richardson, who was the highest naval officer in the history of the US Navy, a woman. And he asked her, what was the key to your success? And she said, well, great leaders look up and out, and they hire people to look down and in, or to work down and in, right? So as the visionary, as the leaders of your organization, looking up and out means you're always looking for opportunities, right? The pandemic forced a lot of people's hands into, okay, I got to look up and out, right? But we should all be doing that on a regular basis, not just because of the pandemic. We should always be looking up and out as leaders of our businesses, because that's how we bring other business in. And another thing that I want to point out before we open it up for questions, and which is something that from the get-go, because I know the former owners of Corporate Fitness Works really well, because they've been certified for so many years. I've loved the business model from the beginning, right? So you do 3 things, and all 3 things are tied very closely. And now you're offering a 4th thing, which is the Zoom, right? This virtual learning. So as you're looking at your business, those of you that are listening in on the call, do you do 3 separate things, and can they be tied in, right? So Corporate Fitness Works meets the corporations they do business with where their need is, right? So their model is, we build fitness centers. We're all about corporate fitness, right? So we build fitness centers. Now, in order to build fitness centers, we've got to have equipment, right? And we've got to have equipment that we trust, that we believe in, that's going to be the best in the market. And we're also, in order to build and fulfill and maintain, we've got to have trainers that we train and appreciate and promote. So those are the 3 things. So look at your, I'm challenging the people on the call and the people who are listening in to really look at your business model and see, is there a possibility that you could be a one-stop shop, right? So the corporations that Beth and her team do business with, they need the fitness center. So she's got that on the books. Now, okay, the fitness center is built and designed. Well, what about the equipment? Who's going to maintain that equipment, and who's going to find the right equipment? And then most importantly, what about the trainers, right? And now through the pandemic, you have, in addition to the in-person, which, as you said, basically shut down, right? Let's look at this other market, and looking up and out and being courageous and creative, you're able to say, well, we could go one step further and go beyond the huge corporate clients to, small businesses. And that opened up all sorts of marketing and opportunities for you. So good. I think that you have provided us with a lot of really great information to think about, and some great ideas.
Thank you, Beth Vivio, for that wonderful presentation and advice that other women business owners can look at and think about for their business. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome.